Hello and welcome to a brand new video. Today we're going to be talking about the real James Bond. James Bond is a character a lot of people would want to be. To drive fast cars, have beautiful women all around you, and as well to save the world. These all seem like impossible things for a human to do all at once. But today we're going to be talking about the real James Bond. A man that the writer of James Bond, Ian Fleming, took the inspiration from and created his first book about the mysterious and memorable character. But before we get into it, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel with post notifications on, and let us know down in the comments if you guys knew about the real James Bond. The name of the real James Bond is Dusko Popov. Popov was a Serbian triple agent of VOA, codenamed Dusko, MI6, codenamed Tricycle, and the Abwehr or the German intelligence with the codename Ivan. Dusko Popov grew up in luxury to a wealthy Serbian family. He would spend his childhood playing tennis, riding horses, playing water polo, and sailing. At 16, he will go to school in England and France, but then he will return to study in University of Belgrade. In 1934, he goes to Freiburg to study for his doctorate at law. At one point in Freiburg, he will be arrested for his speech that was pro-democratic, putting him in jail and facing a concentration camp. Fortunately for Dusko Popov and all of James Bond fans, he will be saved when Dusko's old friend informs Dusko's father in Belgrade. His father had a lot of political influence in Yugoslavia, so the Yugoslav government requested for Dusko to be released immediately. His friend that saved him at the time will later ask for a favor, in which he will ask Popov to become a double agent. That same friend said this about him: "We both had some intellectual pretensions, but on the side we were addicted to sports cars and sporting girls and had enough money to keep them both running." The main clue why Dusko Popov is the inspiration for James Bond is that Dusko Popov actually met the writer of James Bond, Ian Fleming. After a lot of covert operations across Europe, Dusko and Fleming will meet in 1941 in Estoril Casino in Portugal. Fleming knew Popov and followed him in Lisbon as an escort appointed by the MI6. Fleming witnessed an event in the Estoril Casino where Dusko Popov bluffed by placing a bet of $700,000 in order to beat his Lithuanian old rival. This will be a huge inspiration for Fleming, as he will use this scene for his first book about James Bond, Casino Royale. And if you guys watched the Casino Royale movie in 2006, you will see that that scene was also in the movie. During that time when Dusko and Fleming stayed in the Estoril Hotel, Portugal was neutral during the World War II, so a lot of spies would come to the casinos and hotels and exchange the information. According to Popov, a lot of information could be shared by just playing roulette and putting money on numbers, and only a person with the key to the code would be able to decipher it. The Estoril Casino where Fleming and Dusko stayed has framed their check-in documents showing that Popov and Fleming were both at the same time at the hotel, giving hard proof about Dusko being the inspiration for the novel. The same hotel now has a specific suite, called the James Bond Suite, as well as a room where Ian Fleming stayed, as both Dusko and Fleming were regulars at the hotel. When Ian Fleming's book Casino Royale was published, Popov was insulted at one point from the depiction of him in the novel. He said he doubts Bond would survive 48 hours in the real world. He was also surprised by the amount of alcohol that James Bond drinks, stating that James Bond would be a severe alcoholic, something that would definitely prevent him from doing his agent work. The real James Bond had a lot of similarities to the movie one, as they both loved expensive drinks, cars, and most of all, beautiful women. So much so that Dusko at one point was in a relationship with a French actress and one of the most beautiful women at that time, Simone Simon. And if we look at the pictures of Dusko Popov, we can definitely see the influence for James Bond. As for more clues that James Bond is Dusko Popov, when the media asked Ian Fleming about the real James Bond, he said, "I couldn't tell you his name, but he was called the Tricycle." which was, as we said in the beginning, the spy code of Dusko Popov. Now there has been a lot of talks that the number 007 came from Dusko Popov's uncle's phone number in Belgrade, as the last digits were 007, as that was a way people would usually contact Dusko in Belgrade, but this theory was never confirmed by Ian Fleming. What is more likely is that the fictional MI6 agent James Bond possesses the license to kill, which is why he is a 00 agent, while the number 7 means that Bond is the 7th person to receive this title. As for the real James Bond, Dusko Popov, he was working on both sides during the war, so in one point he got the assignment to go to USA and get the information about Pearl Harbor. After he researched some information, he went to the FBI headquarters and told that the Japanese will attack Pearl Harbor, even though it was in vain as the director of the FBI didn't like Popov. As a matter of fact, he critiqued Popov and his lifestyle, especially his womanizing. And because of that, the FBI didn't trust Popov. This will later be proved to be a mistake, as few months later Pearl Harbor was attacked. During the World War II, Dusko Popov had a lot to lose, since working as a double agent risked the life of his family. During the time he was working as a double agent, the Germans have occupied Serbia, and had strong beliefs that Dusko will do as best as he can to save his family. So while his family was living in an occupied Serbia, he was gambling in many hotels and casinos all around the world. This cold-blooded way of dealing with stuff is definitely we see in many James Bond characters. One of the biographers of Dusko Popov said this about him: "Like no other, Dusko Popov was born for the role. With equal measure he could be and did wear all masks, villain and hero, killer and lover, deceiver and patriot. But above all, he was a showman." Until the end of the war, Popov managed to gather over $2 million from the Germans and used that money to help the Allies. Also, his role in D-Day was very important. He was giving false reports to the Germans about the troops located on the other side of Normandy. This operation proved to be extremely successful and was one of the key factors of saving a lot of people's lives. The operation was called Fortitude. As for the end of the inspiration for James Bond, by the early 1980s, years of chain smoking and heavy drinking had taken a toll on Popov's health. He died in Opio on 10th of August in 1981, aged 69. His family said his death came after a long illness. Shortly after his death, the MI6 shared a lot of documents about his missions to his son. It was stated that there were thousands of reports on his missions, from which a lot of people believe Ian Fleming took the inspiration from to create the character of the legendary James Bond. Now, we hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to thank us by clicking that like button and subscribing to the channel with post notifications on. We wish you a wonderful day, and until next time, stay safe.